Hello, everyone, and how are you doing? I hope you are doing just fine, and this 2026 is going amazing for all of you. Thanks for tuning in. And this video I've been thinking about doing for some time now, but some things have been exploding lately in the tech community, and it also has happened some things with my uh, recent experience. So for to start with something, this channel has been somewhat abandoned, and for one hand, I haven't been doing many videos at all, and on the other side, I've been trying to experiment with the content I upload. For example, I did some videos with just opinions and just updates of myself, and one video about my weightlifting training. So maybe the algorithm is like, what the hell is this guy even trying to do? What the hell is this channel even about? And for some of you might know that this channel started as a Linux, GNU Linux, and technology kind of channel, but in Spanish. I am Mexican. My first language is, of course, Spanish. And recently, I've been trying to do videos in English. So for now, I have decided to experiment. I keep on trying to make videos in English, but that's it. For those of you that have been followers of this channel since I was making videos in Spanish, thanks a lot for staying. For those of you that are new, thanks a lot as well for being here, and I hope you enjoy this. But more than anything, this video is more than anything just a rant, because I have some things have happened recently. It's a little story which I will share with you right now. So I've been a Linux user for around 10 years, maybe more or less, maybe 12 years, I don't know. And for all of those 10 years, 10 or 12 years, I have always, in all of my computers, my desktops, and my laptops, I have always kept a Windows partition. For sometimes just shit happens, right? Maybe for some reason, sometimes I've had trouble with USB flash drives in Linux. So of course, who even uses these anymore, right? But sometimes you do use them, and maybe I'll just log into Windows and plug it in and do whatever I was going to do. Maybe some things like printing, using a printer, and mainly, most importantly, and you know this, for some very specific video games. Uh, of course, gaming Linux have has improved a lot, but still, some very specific games, at least in the recent 3 to 4 years with Proton. But for these 10 years, I have always had a Windows partition just ready, just in case. And some things have been happening recently. For one side, as you might know, the tech community in, I know, Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, wherever, uh, things are changing. There's a lot of people that keep saying stuff like, there's many regular users, of which I will talk a little in a while. Many regular users and normies are getting increasingly annoyed at how bad Windows is becoming. Right? You see it every day in Twitter, Twitter, Facebook, etc. People saying like, Windows is getting so bad and progressively shittier, but I won't use Linux. It's like, why the hell not? Right? And the little story that happened to me in the last maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month, is that I've been getting a lot of, I will call it, technical paralysis by analysis, maybe. because I've been watching. I'm trying to be a programmer. I'm a computer engineer, and I think of myself as more than like a computer scientist or a software engineer. So I've been following some programmers, like for example Jonathan Blow, which I really admire and respect. Maybe Ginger Bill, etc. Some others, and these guys use Windows. And what happens in my mind is something like if these guys use Windows, maybe if I do the same, I will be better. Of course, you might be thinking that I'm stupid for thinking that, but I can't help it. But it's the idea that I have been getting in my head. It just happens. So it has been a last few weeks of this weird thing, right? And there is some things that I really still like about Windows. Like, for example, I really long for the interface, the user interface. I really like the idea of how it handles the windows and the fonts. I really like the fonts. Well, at least sometimes the fonts are better than in Linux. I am really happy with how the fonts look in this Fedora install, but the fonts and other things, and despite how increasingly horrible Windows 11 has become, there are still many things, very little things that just work and just keep working. Like, for example, until very recently, I still had the partition in my drive for very specific games, like very, very specific games. I don't really play video games with anti cheat, but for example, I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Come Deliverance, incredible game with HDR. And in Windows, I just activate it, just turn it on, and in Linux, I just can't get it working, for example. But still, all of this stuff that I'm mentioning, it's getting in my head, and it's making like this group of ideas and thoughts and feelings. And at the same time, I feel like, hey, I've been using Linux for 10 years. Not only a Linux user for 10 years, but an Arch Linux user for most of those 10 or 12 years. And I also don't want to stop using Linux, but I was this close. Ironically, everyone in the internet is talking about how shitty Windows is, and so many people are jumping ship and coming to Linux because so many people are realizing how awful Windows is. And very ironically, after 10 or 12 years of using Linux, I was this close to just go back to Windows and say, hey, I will try it for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, and I will just go to Windows, and I will just use the graphical interface, and I will just use normal software, and I will use Sublime Text and etc. I was this close. And what came to my mind was, maybe I've been toying around with bullshit for far too long. Maybe I'm 32 years old. Maybe I've been playing around with stuff for far too long, and I long something that just works. I know and I like how to install Arch Linux and use stuff like i3 window manager and tiling window managers and BSPWM, and more recently Hyperland, which is amazing. It really is. And I like all of that stuff, but I wonder, I was reflecting on whether, hey, maybe what I need is just that. What I long from Windows is all of this stuff, a user interface that works, and just this feel, this vibe. And I decided to try KDE Plasma. So I installed KDE Plasma in my Arch Linux install, in my Arch Linux machine. And I feel like I fucked something up, or maybe my machine was getting too bloated. Something went wrong, and I was not feeling comfortable about it. Keep in mind, I also still had the double partition, And one day last week, yes, last week in February, something flipped, and I just plug the USB drive and I installed Fedora. I was influenced by Fedora because I've been using Fedora Asahi Linux on my MacBook Air. So I just installed Fedora, and again, I will repeat it. I was this close to just install Windows and remove Arch Linux and just be productive. But I installed Fedora and I've been kind of loving it. It just works. And I have all of that stuff that I longed for in Windows. Maybe the user interface, maybe the I don't know. I really like Dolphin. It just looks great. It reminds me a lot of 10 years ago when I was a normal user of Windows. And you might be thinking, hey, all of that can be done in other desktop interfaces, in other distributions. I know. But this is the first time that I've tried KDE Plasma in my entire life. And I really liked it. I liked it. Like it. I really like this little bar. I like the bar. I like how it looks. I like how I can theme it. I like using Firefox. I came back to Firefox. I like using Thunderbird. I have Sublime Text because just in case. I've been messing around with. I want to learn the Odin programming language. Shout out to Ginger Bill. And this is proprietary software, right? And but I still have access to Emacs, and that's amazing. Emacs on Windows kind of sucks. I also have an installation of Lazy Beam just in case. I the point is I still have access to this awesome stuff, and I feel at home, because I love Arch Linux. It's amazing. Arch Linux is amazing. And if you use Arch Linux, and all of my videos over the years have been about Arch Linux, it's amazing. But I plugged down the flash drive with Fedora, and since the moment of the booting up the installer, it really feels like I was installing what's the word? I was installing uh, quality software. I was thinking in another word, but that also works. Even from the installer, it felt like I was installing quality software in my machine. It feels like a robust, that's the word. It feels like a robust distribution. It feels like, not implying that Debian isn't or that Arch Linux isn't. I love Arch Linux, but Fedora feels like an adult distribution, and everything works. I can print. I can use a printer. I can plug in a flash drive and, I don't know, copy some bullshit file. All the software is here. I've been using, as you can see, this bold in Obsidian is kind of empty. I've been starting to write some. Sorry, I've been starting to write some notes, trying to slowly move away from org mode and org rom in Emacs. But I still have Emacs available. That's my point. And the games, all of these games work flawlessly. Flawlessly. I love Kingdom Come Deliverance though too. My Kingdom Come Deliverance is my favorite game of all time. The second one is amazing. Even Grand Theft Auto 4, which runs like shit, uh, I was able to install a. My dog is snoring. I installed the Fusion patch, and it runs flawlessly at 160 frames per second, flawlessly, amazingly. Everything works. So there's so many people, so many regular users saying, "Oh, Windows and the new update, and the updates that break the bootloader, the updates that have been damaging solid state drives, the updates that fuck up Notepad, Paint, the users that are starting to fuck around with the regedit to fix some bullshit, and they still claim that using the terminal is too hard. It's incredible. It's weird. And why? Windows is getting awful by the day by the Microsoft by slopper coders. And there's so many people that keep saying, oh, no, 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 no. Linux will never be mainstream because the regular user doesn't want to learn to memorize. Oh my God. It annoys me to even say it. The regular user will never be able to memorize commands. Why doesn't cat? All right, that's not how cat works. The regular user will never be doesn't want to memorize commands, doesn't want to learn the terminal. When? Someone tell me, please, when did we start accepting the idea that the regular user is brain dead? Because you're not. They are not. The regular user is not. The regular user is smart. The regular user is able, is capable of learning things, because the regular user, the Linux user, was not born knowing how to use Linux. The Linux user learned to use Linux. And the regular user, the user that knows that Windows sucks awfully, but doesn't want to jump ship, that user still had to learn maybe 5 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, or maybe 15 or 20 years ago. That user had to learn Windows. They were not born knowing how the press the start button works. What does the start button does? They were not born knowing how to configure the shit in the control panel, or how the file explorer worked. Or they opened one day Microsoft Excel and they looked at the spreadsheet and they had no fucking idea how it worked, and they still learned it. What is the difference? Oh, I don't have time. My time is too precious and I don't have time to. Come on. That's bullshit. And that's my reflection for the day. And I've been wanting to put it on video because I also don't want this channel to just die. And I will try to think of new ideas for videos. But that's the thing. I wanted to express this because I really believe that this really might be the year of the Linux desktop, especially if the Microsoft programmers. You guys are doing a great job. Just keep doing what you're doing, Microsoft programmers. It's just keep on at it. So yeah, this might be the year of the Linux desktop, maybe. And tell what I just said to your friends. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see each other next time. Bye.